Welcome to the Kristin Carrera podcast. I am your host, Kristin. Welcome back if you've been following along. Thank you so much for continuing to support my channel, to support me, and to have conversations because I absolutely thrive on our conversations. And if you are new here, please make sure to hit that subscribe button, like, follow along, and comment. Today's episode, it's something that's deeply personal to me and honestly life-changing. And so I am excited to dive in today into my weight loss. How much weight did I actually lose when I started carnivore? Did I start carnivore for weight loss? What were my actual goals? And what happened during those first 30, 60, 90 days? So let's dive in. This journey, I was not in it to lose weight. So I want to start there. Okay. I had tons of health issues that I needed to resolve. I had depression for 8 years, anxiety for most of my life that was just getting worse after having each baby. And I had fatigue, brain fog, thyroid issues that the doctor diagnosed as Graves' disease. I had microscopic colitis. I had inflammation in my hands, low back pain, neck pain, bulging discs, herniated discs. I felt like I was falling apart at such a young age, and I couldn't keep up with my own kids. I couldn't keep up with just my life in general. And I had tried so many things to quote unquote get healthier, right? So sometimes people will say, well, just why can't you just eat a balanced diet? Well, welcome. And let's talk about that. Um, Let me start the stage for you. So, again, I was at the point that I had tried almost everything. I had tried keto in the past. I had tried portion control. I had tried a gut protocol program where I ate more vegetables, less red meat. Okay, but nothing helped. I meditated, I journaled, I went outside to ground myself, get some vitamin D. I exercised early in the morning. So I tried so many things, but nothing was truly helping me get better. And I wasn't even focused on the weight loss when I started the carnivore diet. I was dealing with that constant fatigue and the inflammation and the gut issues, and I was just feeling so miserable that was my main goal. But I did have that baby pudge, that stubborn baby weight that just does not go down after having kids. If you are a mama like me, you probably know what that feels like. With my first baby, I dropped a lot of the weight and I went back to normal. He was a preemie, born a month early, so I didn't stretch out as big as I probably would have had he been born full term. But with my second baby, I not only gained a lot more weight, I was a little heavier before getting pregnant, and then I got heavier during my pregnancy. And I really stretched out. So my body was just not the same after having my second baby. And then after having my third, especially, that lower belly pudge was just there all the time. And I was bloated every single night. I literally felt like I was 3 months pregnant every single night. I would tell my husband I looked like the freaking Grinch. That's what I felt like. Like I was working out, I was doing all the things. So I was thin, but I had this pudge that I couldn't figure out. I was stuck and just nothing seemed to work. Um, and that's when I finally said, let me look into the carnivore diet again because I had heard about it a few years prior. My husband had been telling me for months and months, like, you should try keto or the carnivore diet. I really think it's going to help you with your anxiety and your depression. I've heard and seen people talk about this. And my initial thought about carnivore when I saw it on the Joe Rogan podcast with Dr. Sean Baker was that this was an absolutely crazy diet, right? Because we are literally pretty much brainwashed since we are little of how and what you should eat off a pyramid that was designed for the food industry. If you look at it, it's literally backwards. And we are just taught every single day from all of these doctors and nutritionists, and now especially being on social media and how big social media has grown, there's a lot of influencers and people just constantly going back and forth of what's good, what's not good, what's going to kill you, what's not going to kill you. This is going to give you a heart attack. This doesn't really give you a heart attack. And so there's just so much going on that it is hard to really understand what is going to work for me in my situation, in my body, because you will hear the exact opposite of this journey, especially if you are on carnivore. You will hear a lot of backlash. But there are some great doctors out there. You can check out my description of the doctors I love to get information from and their thoughts behind the carnivore diet, their way of eating, scientific studies that they debunk, and what they believe to be true, and how our ancestors ate and how our bodies function, and why a meat-based diet is just not as extreme as you or I at the time thought it to be. And so it was to the point that I was desperate for relief. And so I thought, why not give it a try? I started listening to videos. I started listening to testimonials. I started looking into more educated people that were well informed in this world of health, and started to really realize all these ingredients in the foods that we eat and how unhealthy they are, even when you think that you're eating healthy, and how we need to kind of take a step back into our ancestral ways and go back to eating more meat and pretty much cleansing out your body. Resetting is what I feel the carnivore diet does, especially if you've been eating a sad diet for so many years. Or I have heard even a lot of vegans come from going vegan or vegetarian to a carnivore diet because that wasn't working for them. And so I first want to start off with saying that I don't judge anybody's way of eating because they are on their own journey. It is their own life. I don't agree with certain ways of eating, right? Like a huge sad diet, constant processed foods, and giving your kids just sweets and all these drinks and foods that have dyes and seed oils and all that. I don't agree with that. However, that is not affecting me. But I do know now what was affecting me, how my body reacted to removing these things from my life, from my way of eating. And so I was in this slow and steady progress of wanting to just figure things out and get better. And so the first 30 days on my journey were not dramatic. It was not this, what everybody talks about, clarity, brain fog lifted, energy within 2 weeks. That was not my story. And I wish more people would talk about that, because I think that there are more people that struggle on this journey than thrive on it in the first 30 days. And so I want to put that out there. And I want to remind you that 30 days really is nothing. 30 days is just the beginning of your body figuring things out and adapting to this way of eating. So give yourself the patience, give your body the patience that it needs to really heal itself. Okay. I didn't get that immediate energy surge or mental clarity that all of these people talk about. But after about a month, I did start to notice small changes. I would get a little bit of energy here and there. I had slightly better digestion. I had a little bit less bloating. And so I held on to those small wins. Those small wins definitely kept me going. And if I hadn't held on to those small wins, who knows where I would be, because I definitely probably would have quit because I wanted to quit over 100 times. I talked about this the other day where almost every day, and I have my journal here that I keep handy of my first 100 days and how much I wanted to quit so many times because it wasn't easy and I wasn't feeling good and I wasn't feeling that magical overnight miracle that people talk about. And I just had to keep reminding myself of my why, the small wins that I was gaining already, and where I wanted to go. And I wanted to keep seeing that. And that what if in my mind, for me, the way that my mind works is that what if I keep going moment is what kept me going because I didn't want to think about what if. I wanted to say, I did this and it did work, or I did this and it didn't work. And so I kept pushing through. So at the 60-day mark, everything started to start clicking. Like light switches were turning on, doors were opening, my energy levels were starting to skyrocket like I had never had before. I had improved mood. I had that mental fog was lifting, and so much more clarity than I had in like months or years after having my babies. So that's when I knew that I had to keep going. And the aha moment that really pushed me to go longer than the 60 days was the day that I didn't feel depressed, the day that I didn't cry all day, the day that I realized I lived today feeling happy, feeling content, feeling like I wasn't drowning. That was big enough for me to say, I got to see where this is going. Like, what is this thing about carnivore that is healing so many people, and where I am seeing that shift that I've never seen before, even when I was eating a balanced diet. So if you're still watching my video up to now, I did have that balanced diet that so many of you want me to eat. And it wasn't working for me. And I'm not saying that it won't work for anyone. It may. People go keto all the time and definitely feel better. And then there's people who go keto and kind of see the improvement when they go towards carnivore. So stick with me here, okay? So the funny thing is that I did not go into this for weight loss, right? And I know that we are here. You're trying to figure out how much weight did you lose, Kristin? Well, first off, I want to say that I had already been working out. I had already been losing the baby fat. You can go check out my Instagram. I have like before and after pictures where I was at. But like I said, I still kind of had that stubborn pudge that just wouldn't go away. So over the course of a few months, I did drop weight without even trying because that was not my goal for carnivore, but it did happen naturally. So January 1st, I weighed in at 122 pounds. My body fat was at 12.5% and my muscle mass was at 41.2 pounds. After 18 days, I weighed myself just to see where I was at, and I was at 113 pounds. That's almost 8-pound loss. And my body fat dropped to 10.7%, but I lost a little bit of muscle and bone density as my body was adjusting. After that, I weighed myself in at the 30-day mark because I was like, okay, I'm going to keep going to 60. Let me see where I weigh in at 30. I was at 112 pounds. I regained my original muscle mass to 41.2 pounds while lowering my body fat to 10.1%. I was working out 5 times a week. So I think that working out definitely is important. Strength training, body weight, whatever it is that you're doing, get that workout in. And it doesn't necessarily need to be 5 times a week. Some of my workouts were 20 minutes long. Also, I had different programs that I was doing. So point is, like, definitely move your body while you are on carnivore. If your body allows you to, I think that it's important to get that workout in. After the 60 days, I actually increased my weight to 114, but I had gained back even more muscle. So I was feeling stronger. I was feeling good. And I wasn't really concerned that I gained some weight. I actually didn't want to lose too much weight on this journey because I was already at a good weight for my height and my structure. I just wanted to get rid of that pudge, right? So Then a little bit after the 100 days, I was at 112 pounds. My body fat reached 10.4% and my muscle was at 41.2. So my body found its natural balance. And so my total weight loss was a whole whooping 10 pounds. And I know that is not super exciting for a lot of you. We like to see weight loss of like 30, 50, 100 pounds, but I was never, my body was never the type of person that was truly ever overweight. I was actually too thin growing up where I needed to gain weight and it was hard for me. As I got older, my body started to change and I did gain some weight, but it was kind of like that, what you call like the muffin top, where it just always grew around my waist and here in the face. And so after having my kids, it did become harder to lose that weight and to lose that pudge. But I relatively ate and followed calories and macros and portion control. And so I was able to lose a lot of that baby fat, but I was still having all of those other health issues that were just not going away. And that is what made me turn to carnivore. So the weight loss was amazing because I did lose a lot of that pudge. I wasn't bloated anymore every night, didn't look 3 months pregnant or like the Grinch at the end of the night. But the fact that I felt stronger and healthier, that was the real win. So now here's what I wish somebody had told me before I even started. Electrolytes are key. You'll lose a lot of water at first, so make sure that you replenish sodium, potassium, and magnesium. And so when you see a lot of that weight loss happen fast, like I did, more than likely it was probably a lot of water weight, although as you can see that my stats, I did lose percentage in fat as well. So don't let that get you discouraged because you may lose fat and you may lose water weight like really fast in the beginning, and then you might plateau or it might slow down. That can be normal as well. And you might have to adjust your protein and fat intake. You might have to adjust how much are you eating? Are you eating too little? Are you eating too much? There are a lot of different factors as to why you may not be losing the weight that you want to be losing. So the number 2 thing is that you don't have to be perfect. That goes into that. It's okay to ease into it. Start by cutting processed carbs first. Maybe you don't want to jump right into carnivore, and then maybe you do. So what kind of personality are you? What do you think is more sustainable for you? And do that. Listen to your body. If you feel low energy, you might need to eat more fat or adjust the protein to fat ratio. You might need more electrolytes. I noticed that when my energy was low, it wasn't that I wasn't eating enough. It was that I needed electrolytes. So you have to play around with what works for you and find out what that is that your body might be missing. But listen to your body, pay attention to it, write it down, journal it. That's what I did. And that's how I found out a lot of what I was missing and what I needed. It's not forever. So when you're starting, let's start off with it's not forever. Because if you go in thinking like I need to eat carnivore forever for the rest of my life, that might discourage you and might set you back. It might cause you to feel like this journey is not for me because it's such a repetitive form of eating. It's not, there's not that much variety. I just don't like it. I don't like eating red meat that much. Whatever it is that your brain and your thoughts are telling you, remind yourself that it's not necessarily forever unless it's what you choose or unless it's how your body reacts and says, this is how I need to eat to feel good. So at the end of the day, though, you don't know until you get there to that point. So don't stress about it. Remind yourself that it's not forever. You can modify it over time to include more variety once you start to heal. Now, bone density matters. This is super important. I learned that my body naturally adjusts after the initial drop in bone mass. And I think it's important to know that exercise on any type of way of eating, just exercise in general, is very important for our bone density and as we get older. So take that into consideration. Those are just a few things that I wish I would have known before starting. Now, I want to also give you a few tips for beginners. If you are starting the carnivore journey, I think you're thinking of starting carnivore, you're not sure, here is my advice. Start simple. Beef, salt, water is enough in the beginning. And if you feel like I just can't do just beef, then add in seafood, add in chicken, do whatever it is that you can do to then later slowly transition to only beef, salt, and water. Don't fear fat. A lot of people fear fat. They think that fat's going to make you fat. That's not the case. I'm not going to go into the details on that. You can check out videos. Dr. Anthony Shafe talks about it. Dr. Ken Berry. Don't fear fat. It's your fuel source on carnivore. You need that protein to fat ratio to succeed on carnivore. Keep it sustainable. Don't stress if you slip up. If you slip up, get right back up, get back on track, keep going. It's not the end of the world. Nothing's going to happen. Just keep going. Push forward. Be patient. I talk about this all the time, right? I just talked about it earlier. Be patient. It takes time for your body to adjust. It's not going to happen overnight. Some people take 30 days, 60, 90, 100. Some people can take over a year or longer, depending on where you are with your health journey. And give it at least 60 days. That's when the real shift happens. And maybe even 90 or longer of being strict carnivore before you start adding in things like dairy and other animal-based foods that you can have on carnivore. But to really start healing your body, I think that you need to be strict for at least a minimum of 60 to 90 days. Now, what surprised me the most about going on carnivore was that mental shift. My mood improved and I didn't feel that afternoon crash anymore. That was huge. The mental clarity was almost immediately this like aha moment, as well as my depression of this is amazing and I need to keep going. So that alone was worth it. But the biggest shift is that I started to feel like myself again, right? Not having that depression all the time, not feeling anxious every moment of the day, having that anxiety every moment of the day. That was a moment that I will relive in my mind forever and ever and ever, especially when I think about eating foods that are not going to do well with my body and possibly trigger some of those things. So for years after having my third baby, I carried that little, that extra pudge around that just I could not shake off. And after 60, 100 days on carnivore, my body started to get back into that natural, effortless form that I was used to. Did my body change? Yes, it absolutely did. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. After having my second baby, like I said, I stretched out a lot. So I do have a little bit of the wrinkly. I have where I'm going to kill this word, but this, oh my gosh, I can't even think of the word, but where the muscle in your stomach doesn't quite like, it's hard to explain. I just know that my belly button is like looks sad. That's the way that I describe it. And it is an adjustment of mental thoughts that surround your body image of how you feel about yourself. But I remind myself that I brought 3 beautiful kids into this world. I carried them. I fed them through my body. This is the body that I was given, and this is the journey that I'm on. And I fully accept that my body is not in my 20s anymore, and it's just the way that things are going to be. So the carnivore diet it gave me my life back, and not just because of the weight loss of those little 10 pounds that I was stuck on, but because it helped me heal from the inside out. It helped me see things differently. It helped me realize and recognize the struggles that I went through, the struggles that I've been through, and where I am today. So if you are struggling with inflammation, low energy, digestive issues, this might be worth exploring. You might want to look into the carnivore diet and see, how can I start? Where can I start? And there's a lot of resources out there. You are more than welcome to message me over on Instagram or on TikTok or on Nostr, and I'd be happy to help guide you But I really think that it's something that everybody should explore in their lifetime and see how their body starts to heal. Thank you so much for listening today. If this episode resonates with you, please subscribe, share it with someone who might need to hear it. And don't forget to leave comments below. I love to hear where you are on your journey, your thoughts, and it also helps guide me into what to talk about on our next conversation together. So catch you on the next one. Be strong, stay well, stay healthy, and I will see you on the next podcast.